I'm Darren Wisniewski with ARP Wisconsin. Because of Thanksgiving, we don't have a live show today, but we thought that you would enjoy this information from Joanne Preston of Rural Wisconsin Health Cooperative, as this week is Better Conversations Week, which aims to help us have more meaningful conversations with people in our lives. Joanne was a guest on last week's show and shared these tips for having better conversations. Enjoy, and happy Thanksgiving.
Um, there's a lot of things that we can do to have better conversations. And I'm not here to say that every conversation is one that you should have, but if you do decide to get into some of the hot topic issues, there are definitely some tools and skills. And I think urban or rural, and I'll give a lot of credit to Allison, was just at her organization recently talking about how to resolve conflict. In organizational life, it matters. In our personal life, it matters too. And so, the first place to start is to not go into these conversations expecting to be right or expecting to win someone over. I mean, think about your own times that you are influenced. Are you influenced by somebody saying to you, here's what you ought to think? It doesn't influence people. So especially as we talk about COVID, I think these are really difficult conversations, but they start from a place of understanding, seeking first to understand. And I think it'd be a good place to pop up that 30-second video that we are doing with the Healthy Wisconsin Alliance partnership to do a Stop the Spread. And I think this video will speak, and then I will be happy to follow up after she speaks.
It's been over a year, and I was tired of hearing about COVID. I wasn't vaccinated, and I didn't always wear a mask when I should. I thought if I ever did get COVID, I'd be fine. I was wrong. Over the summer, COVID put me in the hospital for over a month. I faced the reality I might die, but luckily, I survived. I made the mistake, but you don't have to. The vaccine is safe, effective, and free. Please don't wait. Vaccinate.
So as you can see, it's making it a point from advocacy, but it's from a place of speaking to people who are probably more like-minded. And I think that's the place where we need to start is to realize that there's a time for advocacy, making your point, and there's a time for more inquiry. So some of the tips that I would share would start with, if you want to have this conversation, is help me understand your point of view. I'm interested in how you came to believe what you believe about this. So starting with a question, help me understand, or I want to see things from your point of view. I think a second point I would make is, start with your heart in the right place, that you're not going to necessarily have a goal of winning someone over. I mean, you hope that you do, but the goal is to get to a place where you can hear each other. That's the game changer there, is when we can start to really hear each other, just like this woman in the video is going to relate to some people who might not have heard a different kind of message. Another tip that I would share is really focusing on listening. I think listening is a skill that is part of a communication skill that most of us don't do very well at it. And we're waiting for our turn to talk, or we're thinking about what we're going to say, and we stop listening. So we really want to ask and then listen. Listening includes being willing to say, here's what I understood from what you said. Is that right? Instead of just like waiting for your turn to have your say. So really pausing and listening and being present, even if that's your only goal, is just to listen. I would share with listeners too, there's another technique we talk about in conflict resolution. It's called the don't do technique. The way it works is you think about, if you're going to have a conversation, what is the thing that person is going to get defensive about? So let's say I'm going to have a conversation with someone about vaccines, and I want to convince them, but I want to start by saying, what I don't want is for you to think that I believe you don't care about your health. Because sometimes when we have these conversations, it comes off like, I care about my health and I care about people, but you don't. And that's a non-starter. So starting out with, I don't want you to feel like I think you don't care about your health. I believe that you do. What I do want is to have a conversation so that we could try to understand each other better, where we're coming from, and see if we can find some common ground. Now, this takes a little bit of time, but it's time well spent. What's the alternative? Is that we just argue or put our opinions out there on social media, and not have a real dialogue to where we can get to a place of understanding.